The sentencing of one of the Colorado funeral home owners who's accused of storing nearly 200 decomposing bodies at a property in Penrose. Today, John Halford learned he'll spend the next 20 years in prison after pleading guilty on fraud charges.
John Halford was to be sentenced for conspiracy to commit wire fraud. On its face, a financial crime, making false promises and taking people's money with no intention of performing funeral services. But it's what was allegedly done to the bodies of deceased loved ones and the impact left on the community that had even the judge acknowledging the emotional cost is intertwined.
In one of the most disturbing criminal cases in recent U.S. history, a Colorado couple was found to have stored nearly 200 decaying human remains at their funeral home. John and Carrie Halford, owners of the Return to Nature Funeral Home in Penrose, Colorado, were discovered to have kept 191 corpses, some dating as far back as 2019, in horrific conditions. The bodies were left in an abandoned, insect-infested building, violating every expectation of dignity, care, and legality associated with death services. The investigation began in October 2023 after neighbors reported a strong odor coming from the property. When law enforcement arrived, they found decomposing remains piled inside the facility, some stacked on top of each other, with body fluids seeping through walls and floors. Shockingly, the Halfords initially tried to dismiss the concerns, claiming the smell was due to taxidermy work, not corpses. Authorities quickly uncovered that the couple had been charging families for cremations they never performed. In many cases, they gave grieving relatives bags of dry concrete mix, falsely labeled as ashes. Investigators also found that the Halfords had defrauded the federal government, misusing nearly $900,000 in COVID-19 relief funds intended for small businesses. They used the money for luxury items including vehicles, a trip to Disneyland, cosmetic procedures, jewelry, and cryptocurrency investments. Legally, the case unraveled on multiple fronts. Both John and Carrie Halford were charged with 191 counts of abuse of a corpse, as well as theft, forgery, and money laundering. In the federal court system, John Halford pled guilty to wire fraud and was sentenced to 20 years in prison, along with an order to pay over $1 million in restitution to victims and the SBA. Carrie Halford initially pled guilty as well, but later withdrew her plea. In state court, both agreed to plea deals. John faces another 20 years, while Carrie faces 15 to 20 years, with formal sentencing pending. Beyond criminal charges, the couple also faced a massive civil judgment. In early 2024, a Colorado judge ordered the Halfords to pay $950 million to the families of victims, a largely symbolic ruling, since the couple does not have anywhere near that amount in assets. Still, the ruling reflected the staggering emotional and psychological damage done to hundreds of families who were deceived and denied the opportunity to properly grieve their loved ones. The case has had wide-reaching effects beyond the courtroom. It exposed gaping holes in Colorado's regulation of funeral homes, especially those advertising green or alternative services. As a result, state lawmakers have introduced legislation requiring more rigorous inspections, stronger licensing requirements, and increased oversight of the funeral industry. Reforms set to take effect by 2026. Many families, still reeling from the betrayal, have reported long-lasting trauma, with some struggling with depression and an inability to trust other funeral providers. Ultimately, the Halford case has become a symbol of systemic failure, highlighting the need for stronger protections in one of society's most sensitive industries. What was promised to be a service rooted in compassion and care turned out to be one of Colorado's most appalling criminal scandals.